Hello, everybody. How y'all doing out there? Welcome. Welcome to Real Women, Real Talk. We are so happy to have you with us again. I am Trenace Richardson, and I am the founder of Real Women. And I am joined by my sister and co-host, who is...
I am amazing. I am amazing. I am the amazing Shavon Carter, a facilitator for Real Women.
Yes, you are, and we are more than enough.
Yes.
Watch the last episode. We are so grateful to be back with you all. We are approaching 50 episodes very soon. And so just so excited that you're with us. We're going to tell you about Real Women in just a little bit. But we just want to jump right in. Until then, go visit us as you're listening. If you get curious about us, go to realwomenrock.org. We would absolutely love for you to find out more about us. For now, we want to jump into this episode, give y'all some good. Our first segment is Real Talk, and we really just want to find out how you are really doing. So think about that while we talk to each other. Shavon, how are you doing, sister? How you really doing? Real talk.
Yeah, so really I'm doing good. I am coming off of a concert that I went to on Sunday.
Ooh.
I went to see Boys to Men and BBD on Sunday.
Wait a minute. So I'm not gonna be mad that you saw a piece of New Edition without me. I'm not gonna be mad. Not gonna be mad.
I will see any piece of them. BBD, RWRT, New Edition. Yes, I just love them so much. But yes,
Did you have fun?
I had a great time. It was my first time seeing Boys to Men. So I was really excited about that because I grew up on them just like I did with New Edition, and they sounded amazing. I will say Wanye has a lot of energy.
Wow.
A lot of energy. He is
okay.
I think he's 51.
Uh-huh.
But baby, he was all over just dancing and he just couldn't stop moving. But they all sounded great. So I had a good time just singing all of my favorite songs. So it was fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And it's so funny that you said that because I automatically put them in a whole nother category because BBD and New Edition are the dancers. I don't envision Boys to Men doing a lot of dancing. They can sing their butts
It was
off.
singing. Wanye was the only one that was doing all the moving. Like when Sean or Nathan would be singing, he's in the back just like doing stuff. Like he just could not be still. It was so funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the dancer of the group. That's
Exactly.
funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Too funny. Well, I'm glad you had that enjoyment because you've been doing all this studying and all this stuff. So you exhaled. I love
Yes.
it.
My
I love
weekends
it.
are for fun. So yes, I'm
Good.
going to see Usher, this weekend. So I'm excited.
Oh my goodness. You're gonna get your concerts in.
I
If
won't
you
get
don't
my
get
concerts.
you gonna get those
That's the
concerts.
one thing I will do. I may not be traveling, but I'm gonna go see the people.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am doing really well. I'm really focused, and this is a little bit of a shameless plug, but it's sincere.
Okay.
I'm really focused and excited about all that's happening with Real Women.
Yes.
I've been able to really put some time in thinking, honestly, even just thinking about our team because we're about to have a team retreat. So how can we, I'm so excited. How can we love on each other and really connect with each other, but then translate that into the intensive that we're going to talk to you all about in a little bit, that's happening, and everybody's invited in November. And so just really focused in on, who we are and why we do this work that we do, and how much it permeates so much of my life, like the lessons that I learn I'm using in all parts of my life. And so I'm really focused with some real good feels right now with Real Women. So I think I'm in a little of an emotional bag, but in a good way. I'm a Cancer, so I'm waterworks anyway. But
y'all so sweet though. Yeah.
until you piss us off. But no.
Right, right, yeah, that is factual.
Yeah, so
Mhm,
I'm doing really good. I'm feeling really, really good. And I know that's not everybody's testimony, and that's not,
mhm,
every moment of every day for me, but
yeah,
I am really grateful for the moments that I feel
mm,
full.
that,
I'm
mhm,
really grateful for those, and I hold on to them, and I'm not afraid to talk about them because sometimes we'll hold in when we're not feeling well too, you know?
yeah, mhm,
Ain't no need for that.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep,
ain't no need for
no,
that.
that's right, I love it.
Mhm. Well,
Mhm,
okay, so we found out how we're doing, and we
yeah,
really do wanna know how you all are doing, but I also have another real talk,
okay,
just maybe discussion starter, right?
mhm,
And, we're gonna want you all to tell us how you're doing, but we also gonna want you to respond. This is gonna be the whole episode. We wanna hear from y'all, okay? Just make this the episode that you respond to us
uh-huh.
because this is going to be a good time,
It
okay?
is, it definitely,
This
yes,
is about to be a good time. So
yes,
just go ahead and get in your mind. Go to speakpipe.com/real women real talk or email us at our email address info@realwomenrock.org. And so you can let us know how you're doing, but you can also answer this question.
mhm,
So, sister,
yeah.
I would love to know what you were taught regarding marriage and maybe what you were taught regarding singleness or singlehood, if the
Mhm.
two are connected, if it's, marriage versus singlehood. Like when marriage and singleness comes to mind, what thoughts come up for you as it relates to what you were taught?
You know, I had so many teachers when I
Mm,
think about it, and
mhm,
some teachings were direct and some were indirect.
mhm.
So the three teachers that come to mind, one is my grandmother.
Okay.
I truly do believe my grandmother taught me about singleness.
All right now, grandma.
Indirectly,
Mm,
some statements that she would make. So my grandmother was a widow. My
mhm,
grandfather passed before I was born, and she never remarried. She had companions, but she never remarried, and she really enjoyed her single life, or what it appeared
mhm,
to be enjoyed her single life. She retired from her job, and then she ended up starting her own business, childcare business, and so she really taught me that singleness is about taking care of yourself, being independent, and having your own, and that
mm.
you don't need a man in order to be happy and thriving in life. So that's what I learned from her.
Go ahead, grandma.
She was never the type that asked me, "So when you gonna get me some great grandkids or whatever, or
Mhm.
great grandkids, or when are you gonna get married?" She never asked me that question ever.
Wow.
She
Wow.
always said, "You ain't got nobody begging for bread. Like when you eat, your whole family eat." Like she always said that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. She never pressured me into that, and I love her to this day. Rest in peace, grandma. But I love her to this day for that because she never put that pressure on me. My mother is another teacher. She was married and still is married. So I saw the married side. It was not a healthy marriage, but it was a marriage nonetheless. And so I saw the other side of a desire to be with someone, like what
Mhm.
marriage can do when two people are together financially and just having a partner. I saw that, and it was just almost this messaging of you do need a man.
Mhm.
So it was
Mhm.
like conflicting messages
Mhm.
there. And then the third teacher was what I learned growing up in church
Mhm.
about marriage, and like you are supposed to be married before you have sex, and that is the goal.
Yeah.
And so I actually have four teachers actually, but
Mhm.
because the fourth teacher is movies, the fantasy
Mm.
of marriage and
Mhm.
relationships. So I had more teachers that were telling me about marriage and that I should be doing that, as opposed to teachers, that one teacher, my grandmother, about singleness. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
It's so wild.
I
Yeah.
wonder if we had a man up here, because this is the proprietor of the dating cards
Yes.
business. And
Yes.
so I know you may have even broached this question on some level
Mhm.
with some of your audience or during your shows, but I wonder what men would say related to this question because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
probably perceived they either were taught or caught something different than what we would say
Absolutely.
would be
Yeah.
my guess anyway.
Mhm.
So for me, my first teacher was definitely church.
Okay.
Um, because everybody in my immediate family circle was
Mhm.
connected to church and we all bought into what was taught at church.
Mhm.
And so better to marry than to burn, child.
Yep.
And going to seminary for myself now, I
Mhm.
realized that was much more about um, your temptation within you
Yeah.
than just going to hell. It wasn't
Right.
it wasn't
Yeah.
about going to hell.
Right.
But anyway, so um but I thought I'm going to
Mhm.
hell. I'd rather get married than go to hell because
Then
I
go to hell. Right.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So and then I was also, as I got older in church, it was also taught that when you are single, because there's a scripture, when you are single, you are able to fully focus on your relationship with God.
Yeah.
When you are married, you have to share your attention and your dedication with a
Mhm.
spouse.
Yeah.
And so, what I understood, which we'll get into a little later,
Yeah.
was basically damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because you either supposed to be single and fully devoted to the
Yeah.
Lord,
Yeah.
or you supposed to be married and fully devoted to the Lord
Yeah.
and your spouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are definitely on the back burner, ma'am.
You're right. There's
So
no room for you to be devoted to yourself. No.
no, 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 no.
Mm-mm.
So marriage was this requirement. I even read a book. Ooh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it in here, but it was basically that said, marriage, the goal of marriage is not to make you happy, it's to make you
Mhm.
holy. And so
Jesus.
that
Wow.
is, it might almost be the exact title, but it was definitely the theme of the book. And so it was the weight of marriage and the
Mhm.
responsibility of marriage versus I was I was taught to see singleness as this opportunity to sin, or this,
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
place where you were just given a little bit too much freedom. Go on and get in
Yeah.
there in that marriage thing. Go on over there.
Because that's gonna solve all world hunger, all of your problems.
Listen,
Yeah.
it's supposed to solve. And so when the question is what were you taught, I wasn't taught how to be married
Right.
and
Right.
how to stay married, just
Yes.
that I'm supposed to get married.
You're supposed to do it, and everything else will work out. Right.
Right, right, right. It's just gonna magically.
Why would
But
it
then
fail?
being in my life, not
Mhm.
seeing a lot of healthy marriages either. So I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa,
Yeah.
whoa.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so it's a lot of contradictions. So like I said, y'all, listen, we want to hear y'all's.
Yes.
we we would love to know what you were taught. Please send it to us,
Mhm.
speakpipe.com/real women real talk, or email us at info@realwomenrock.org. And I,
Mhm.
I just wanted to open up with this question because even though it was our real talk, I want to go right into digging a little deeper.
Let's get
On
it.
it,
You know I love talking about this kind of stuff. Yes, ma'am.
we gonna go for it. We just gonna go to the deep water with it.
Yeah.
And we are both on opposite sides of it right now,
Yep.
but we have both been both, right? We've
Yes,
been
we
single
have.
and we've been married.
Yeah.
So um we just gonna, we gonna duke it out lovingly and fun with it,
Yeah.
and just talk
Uh-huh.
about singleness versus married life and what we've learned, both pros and cons from it. So the question on the floor is, which is better? and we're gonna see if we can answer that. Who knows? You know what? Maybe, maybe not. Which is better, being single or being married? What 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 say you before we
Yeah.
begin the conversation, Shavon? What say
Okay.
you?
So I might surprise you with this one.
Okay.
I honestly don't think one is better than the other.
Mm,
I really don't. I don't. I think honestly, both are gifts.
mm,
And it's
mhm.
up to the individual person to decide which one they want to
Yeah,
embark on, whether
yeah,
it's single or both.
yeah,
Some people be married and act as single. So in this day and age, you can get a little bit of both. But I don't think either one is better. I think there are pros and cons to both of them. So I think it's just a choice of figuring out which side you want to be on.
yeah. I think
Mhm.
that's a great, safe answer, Shavon Carter. No,
I just put it. Okay,
I
yeah.
agree. You being honest, I know you are. I know you are because you would very clearly say one or
Oh,
the
I
other.
would definitely
You
tell
know
you.
that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I wanna and I'm only breaking the rule because I have some thoughts I want to share during our sharing
Okay.
that I want to answer it at the end.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna come back to my own question
Uh-huh.
before we close out deep dive.
Okay.
And we do want to know from you all in the comments. If you're listening on podcast, just send us a note. We want to know which you think is better, being
Mhm.
single or being married. And we're just going to talk about it for a little bit because it's our opinion, right? It's
Yeah,
just an opinion. Everybody's got
absolutely.
one.
Yeah.
Nothing that we're going to share is going to be an absolute for anybody. And you don't
Mhm.
have to, neither one of us have an authority or a weight on it when it comes to this.
Mhm.
It really is just an opinion.
Mhm.
I do want to share just a little bit of research, a couple of things that I didn't know.
Okay.
People have studied relationships and these
Mhm.
a couple of things that they found, but the majority of this is just going to be from our own personal experiences.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I'm learning that I love is that not only do we have a right to share our experiences,
Mhm.
but what we have learned in Real Women, and I've become a part of a couple of communities online that have really helped me with this as well, is that nothing that we believe to be true for ourselves trumps anyone else's personal experiences,
Right.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So nothing I say or you say is Bible for anybody else but us, and same for us. So research happens to say that as it relates to longevity of life,
Mhm.
the group that lives longer when it
Mhm.
comes to women, research says that married women live an average of 2 years longer than single women.
Child.
Listen,
Mm-mm.
I don't know that that's true or not. For I mean,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
a study out there. I'm not even
Uh-huh.
gonna quote no studies or nothing. I read it online,
Mhm.
and so that's what they say, right?
Mhm.
Um,
They
ha-
mhm.
have has that been your experience when you think of your life over your life? The people, the women in your life, are they are the single women living longer? Are the married women living longer? What have you seen?
I don't think that I've noticed a difference when I think about like my grandmother, like I said, she was widowed. She lived till 92.
Mhm,
She
mhm,
never remarried. She was married before, but
mhm,
I think she lived most of her years, single as opposed to married.
mhm.
So, and her sister, her twin sister, lived well into her 90s. So,
Yeah,
and then I'm thinking about people that I know that have been married, which is not a lot, that have passed away.
mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know that I've noticed the difference whether one lived longer than the other. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I had to think about this, just in preparation for this, and I thought about all of the variables that can come into play,
Yeah.
whether and just the factor that someone is single or married.
Mhm.
For me, it is not the primary factor on
Right.
longevity of life. Because let me tell you, people in my family can eat long and wrong. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
we know how to eat wrong for a
Yeah,
long time.
for sure.
And everything from diabetes, the sugars,
Mhm,
the heart problems, and
mhm.
all of those things come about, obesity, all of that comes about as a result of us not taking care of ourselves. And that can happen whether you are married or single.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I haven't been able to gauge that in my own personal life and in my
Mhm.
own personal circles to
Yeah.
say yes, single women or married women live
Yeah.
longer. Um,
'Cause I think that's oversimplifying it, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I think, like you said, there are so many different variables that how can you just point out that that is the main reason why someone lives longer or shorter? Like,
yeah.
I don't think I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't yeah.
And, again, I go back to somebody might disagree. Your life circle might
Mhm.
clearly show you one or the other, but I know
Yeah.
some married women who have lived long lives. I know some single
Mhm.
women who have. I know some lives that have been cut short. I know more lives that
Mhm.
have been cut shorter than I thought they should have,
Yeah.
been able to live.
Mhm.
And they were single and married. So I haven't seen a difference.
Yeah.
Here's another one, okay?
Mhm.
Another point of research that they say
Okay.
that when you think about who's happiest, married women or single women, research says that single,
Uh-huh.
unmarried, single women are
Yeah.
happier than married women with children.
Yeah. Nah, that might be true a little bit. 'Cause when I tell you, every time I see a
Mm.
mother and her with her child, and the child is doing whatever, I be like, "Oh Lord, I think y'all
Ooh,
gotta deal with
ooh.
that." Oh no, there might be some truth to that. In my experience, I do feel a little happy. So I not having children to deal with, and a husband to deal with. I
Child,
ain't gonna lie about
child. Let me tell you. So I remember when Nigel finally got to the age where, because he probably could have done it a lot sooner,
that.
where he could stay home for a couple of hours and then
Yeah.
half the day or maybe the whole day by himself.
Mhm.
Because I was nervous at first. We were nervous at first. But
Yeah.
when we finally got comfortable that we knew he knew how to keep himself in the house with nobody,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff, girl,
Mhm.
I felt free. Lord have mercy, Jesus, I felt free. I felt like I could live again, like
Woo!
I could do. And now I'm a grandma. My daughter
Yeah.
has an almost 2-year old, and
Yeah.
I feel so sorry for the baby. I do,
Yeah.
because I'm thinking, you back at that stage that I was at, and I can't help you as much as you want me to, baby, because
Yeah.
I'm living my life now. Right? So,
And it's so funny because I know a few episodes ago, I was like, just settling into the fact that I don't have kids and just having some grief around that. But baby, I, I just count my blessings,
yes, yes,
Yes, I
yes.
really do.
Count them up, child. Count them up. And
Mhm.
so, as much as I'm sure we are grateful for our children, and I'll
Yes,
even say
absolutely.
our marriages, I think there's probably some truth to this one too, because when you
Mhm.
think about the married part of it,
Yeah.
there's just a level of freedom that comes along with you not having to check in or have the
Mhm.
extra level of discussions with any choice that you choose to
Yeah.
make.
Mhm.
And some married couples have more check-in than others,
Mhm.
but on some level, there's some discussion and getting on the same page that a
Mhm.
single person, and if you're in a long-term relationship, you're buying closer to the married side than the single
Uh-huh.
side. But if
Yeah.
you are single, you don't have that level of accountability, child, that feels like some freedom. That's all I'm saying. That
Oh,
feels like a little bit of freedom.
let me tell you what, to be able to come home, to be able to get in the bed and be able to spread out in the bed and sleep on both sides. To be able to get up when I feel like it, I ain't gotta cook nobody no breakfast, no dinner, no lunch, no. It's just the little things that I appreciate. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
child. I be picking up food when I'm tired. On a day like today,
Uh-huh.
I just stopped, made my rounds to pick up some
Right.
food and bring it home.
Uh-huh.
I totally agree. I think we might be on the same page with this one.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
We might be on the same page. All right. So we want to know what y'all think just in your life, in your
Mhm.
world, who ends up being the happiest, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what we like to know. So I want to just be fair and kind of close this conversation or round this conversation out with
Mhm,
pros and cons for both
mhm. Yeah,
because I think we can both do that, right?
yeah,
We've
absolutely.
been in both shoes, and so if you wouldn't mind, where do you want to start? You could do pros and cons of either one. Which one you want to go to first?
I'll start with married. So I was married for a little while. So I'll start with the pros and cons of being married. So
Okay.
what I did appreciate and what I think was a pro about being married is just having someone, a partner who I could do life with,
Yeah.
who I could communicate with on a regular basis, who lived in the home with me,
Hmm.
um, who could challenge me, in ways that if when I'm single, it's just I'm by myself a lot, and so you don't have those interactions as much. So I think that is a pro that you get someone who is there and who can help to sharpen you. Uh, what else? Maybe to go on trips with, travel, do fun things with, do ministry together because I do believe that marriage should be about purpose, like
Hmm.
combining your purposes together and really fulfilling a life purpose or just a mission in life together. So I think that
That's
can be really
good.
powerful.
That's
You can
really good.
reach, a lot of people. So I think that's a pro. Um, the cons of marriage, one, you have two people coming together trying to be united with two different perspectives, two different backgrounds. So that can create a lot of conflict. Um,
Mhm.
so that's one of the cons, just the nature of just being different. A man and a woman, we think different, so that can be a con if you can't get on the same page with that.
Yeah.
A con also is just the level of sacrifice and compromise that you have to do. You
Hmm.
know, can be a lot to the point where some people self-sacrifice and lose themselves in a marriage and in the other person.
Hmm.
So those are just some of the things that come to mind as far as pros and cons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll jump on your bandwagon because I agree with all of those. I may reiterate a little bit, but I want to try to add to it more than anything.
Mhm,
For me, when I think about the pros of marriage, and I don't know that we've talked about relationships in a few episodes, so
mhm.
it might be worth saying for those who are the first time here, I've been married for 25 years.
Mm. You
And
can
so
talk about
I got
mm.
married when I was 25.
Hmm.
Better to marry than to burn. That's
Woo.
what was on my brain. And
Mhm.
we got married. We met and married in 90 days.
Yep. Mhm.
So we don't, neither one of us, suggest that to
Mm.
anybody.
Yeah.
But we've been doing a whole lot
Mhm.
of work in order
Mhm.
to still be here 25 years later. And so, you ask either of us anything, we would both have different answers to share. But I think one of the things that we would both agree on is marriage propels you, forces you to work on you.
Yeah.
It you some people say marriage puts up a mirror to you, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And I know that it's depending upon the level of work you're willing to do on
Yeah.
yourself. I know
Mm.
that there's a contingency there.
Yeah.
Um, but it's gonna be rough either way. It's gonna be rough because you're ignoring the work or not willing to do the work, or
Mhm.
it's gonna be rough because the work is hard,
Yeah.
right? One
Mhm.
way or the other,
Mhm.
but it teaches you something about yourself. You get to learn so much about yourself that you
Mhm.
possibly would not otherwise
Mhm.
because you are not in constant and consistent relationship with the
Mhm.
same person.
Yes. Yep. Mhm.
There, and you can imagine like being on your job.
Yeah.
Those people you deal with 8 hours, 10 hours, depending upon how long, and then you
Mhm.
go home and some of them for years, some of them stay for a few months and then they're gone, and you meet new people, there are new hires. And so the longevity of relationship and the depth of relationship is very different in
Yes.
any of your other circles than it
Mhm.
is in marriage. In marriage,
Absolutely.
you are coming home together and
Mhm.
every day, and it's just different. And so there is nothing about that, about marriage, to me, that doesn't give you the opportunity to work on you.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and even um, when we find that we are pointing fingers at the other person more than
Mhm.
we are, them,
Mhm.
even that is an opportunity to say, okay, why do I feel? Because at some point, there's something about me that's either allowing or
Mhm.
not having the appropriate conversations,
Mhm.
or not, there's something happening that is causing me to do that, so that I need to make some decisions or have some conversations, right?
Mhm. Absolutely.
And all of that is me. That's on me. My
Mhm.
response is my responsibility, as one of my old pastor friends used to say. So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
really do believe that that it teaches us about us. I think that's a
Absolutely.
really, I really want to hone in on that, because I don't think you get that in any other relationship that way.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I would say a con, just to keep it rolling. Um, we already alluded to, you have, on some level, there's some level of check in,
Mhm.
and you already mentioned that. I think if I had to add a layer to that, I would, if we are not on the same page, something you said was just so key, to be the ability to be able to pair up your purpose.
Mhm. Mhm.
That if for some reason that has not been explored
Mhm.
or discussed or even planned for, it
Mhm.
can marriage can be the highest of heights or the lowest of lows.
Yeah.
And that can happen in the healthiest of marriages. There aren't
Mhm.
all good days.
Yeah.
But if you feel like your life's purpose is
Mm.
not being attended to
Mhm.
in a a covenant relationship like marriage,
Mhm.
I can only imagine that is like, that
Mm.
has to be the worst.
The worst. Yeah. Mhm.
And I can say that the conversations that we've had to have in order to get on the same page about, what are you here to do? What am I here to do? And
Yeah.
I cannot breathe without doing what I'm here to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so whether we do it together or separately,
Mhm.
I just think stifling purpose
Mhm.
is probably, the risk that you take, that
Mhm.
that the part of you that you have to sacrifice or give up, or
Yeah.
compromise even.
Mhm.
Woo! Um, it's just, it's
Mm.
chillingly scary, for especially for women. And
Mhm.
so I celebrate that I am able to say today that I get to walk fully in purpose.
Mhm.
Um, but I had to, those are conversations, because you're two
Mhm.
different people coming together to be really clear about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the
Mhm.
pros and cons of it for me, in a very
Yeah.
transparent way. The most transparent I'm willing to be.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I also want to share is when it comes to a family, I think marriage, a pro for marriage is having a great foundation or framework for growing, creating and growing a family. Like I think just
Yeah.
that consistency, both the parents active and in the child's life. I know all marriages are not like that, but I think the framework and the design of marriage can foster some healthy parenting and child rearing. So it's a
Yeah. Yeah.
great
Yeah.
framework.
I'll add to that. You made me think about, and you alluded to this, but that made me think about all of the history that you have with someone. Like,
Mhm.
nobody knows me better. than my
Yeah.
husband. Really,
Yeah.
nobody knows.
Like,
And
seriously,
there's just unsaids and years long inside jokes,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
just being able to, at the end of a day, know that somebody is just there, like they're
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the family unit, like just to be on, like you said, everybody's dynamic is different, but
Mhm.
to be on the same page about building these young people up to be, more
Yeah.
productive adults,
Mhm.
that is heartening.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
it makes me full to think about,
Mhm.
I'm not, and then it makes me feel for those whom I've heard from our sister circles say, I have to
Mhm.
do this all by myself, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, and it's not, every marriage is not perfect. So there's some
Right.
people who feel like they're
Feel like
married and
that,
they're
and then
doing it
there,
by
yeah.
themselves.
Mhm.
But I think about those who don't, who feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's not a positive. So
Mhm.
okay, well, I think we got that one.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that we're gonna end with this one with the single though. So
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I want you to end this one because you are currently single.
Okay. All
So let
right.
me take a stab at this first.
Okay.
So the pros of singleness, we've been all over the place with it already. The fact that you
Uh-huh.
just freedom is the word that comes to mind. Like, oh wow.
Woo! It's like on a roller coaster. Yay! Hands in the air.
Oh, I feel like silly close. I think it's really cool that all the single ladies, like literally,
Yeah.
you get to choose your own path without
Mhm.
checking in, right? You
Mhm.
go from, possibly being under parental guidance, and then, let's just say, ideally, you've never been married. Then you just really get to live full out. What do I want today? What do I want to do with my life? You get to dream that up and manifest that on some level.
Mhm.
It has been eons ago, but I remember being single.
Mhm.
And for me, a con was loneliness when I wanted companionship,
Mhm.
because it's not as if I couldn't have had somebody there,
Mhm.
but to have a standard and a level of what I wanted and who I wanted there,
Mhm.
and to just not have that accessible at the moments that I felt like I needed or wanted that.
Yeah.
I do remember crying, myself to sleep a couple of nights. Like
Mhm.
I really would love some company,
Mhm.
um, emotional or otherwise.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
um, so those two I'll start with. I'll say that the partnership, if it's able to happen, because it doesn't happen with every dynamic, but the not having the partnership of being financially, having someone to help
Mhm.
financially, just
Sure.
whatever you want to do or be or
Mhm.
buy, or it's all on you, for the
Yes.
most part, being single.
Mhm.
um so you got the freedom to choose it, but then you also got to figure out how it's going to happen.
You gotta finance it all. Yeah.
You got
Mhm.
to finance it. So yeah, those are the things that come to mind for single.
Okay.
What about
Yes. Amen to all of that, especially when you got to do it by yourself. Because I would
yeah.
love a sponsor for some of my activities and some of my bills. That would be great. Um, but the pros are definitely the freedom.
Mhm.
I have the freedom, and a lot of us singles have the freedom to pursue whatever it is that we desire, like going back to school, working a full time job, having an internship. Like I get the ability to do that. Not that other people can't if they are married, but there is more flexibility and freedom for me to do that being single without having to consider and balance a lot of things or manage a lot of different things like a relationship or children or family. So that is definitely a pro for me. Another pro is just the ample amount of quiet time that I
Mm,
get to have. Like I get to choose when I want to have another person in my world. So
Mhm.
I have a lot of quiet time where I can
Mhm.
just journal, or I can
Mhm.
just sleep, or I can watch a movie and have my
Mhm.
own time to myself and do exactly what I desire to do, which just feels like a warm blanket to me. Like I
Yeah.
just really enjoy being able to have that time to check in with myself. So those are two things that I think are pros. On the cons, definitely the financial piece, having to burden and shoulder all of the responsibilities of bills and trips and whatever,
Mhm.
unless somebody wants to share, in that. But it does fall on me being single.
Mhm.
Also, it's something that I have to think about is long term, like,
Mhm.
if I were to get sick, or just thinking about what long-term care is going to look like for me and having to
Mhm.
plan for that. Now,
Yeah.
not to say that someone who's married will have, their husband there or their
Right.
significant other there, but it's just something I have to be intentional about because I know that I'm single and not moving towards marriage. So as I get older, it is a reality that I'll have to figure out my own care. So that is a con. I will honestly say that.
I just want to say thank you for mentioning that. I don't know if that was top of mind for me.
Mhm.
And even just thinking through that makes me more sensitive and empathetic in that way
Yeah.
about that.
Mhm.
So I needed that reminder, something that
Mhm.
I knew but wasn't top of mind. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially not having any children, not having any siblings, like, that
Yeah.
is real for
Yeah.
me, being an only child and just not having that companionship or children. None of that is guaranteed even if you have them, but when you don't have it at all, it is something to really
Yeah.
think about. What is that
I
gonna look like?
I need to say something about that one. That one's hitting me a little hard.
Yeah.
And um well, I don't know why that's hitting me so hard right now.
Mm.
But this is such a sister moment
Yeah.
because I
Mhm.
want to say I want to put that on our inner circle agenda, like that
Mhm. Mhm.
for our sisters who are, and maybe even a topic, a
Yeah.
piece of, because we've done relationships in sister circles before,
Yeah.
but even to talk through, what are your plans? Have you thought about it?
Yeah.
And then how can we as sisters, as covenant sisters,
Mhm.
um, contribute to that plan? Because my first thought was, I don't care if you ain't by yourself, like whatever we gotta teach. There's a room in this house for,
Right?
I'm thinking all the things.
Yeah.
But to also make sure that that's a conversation and not just
Yeah.
any assumptions in my head or or in anybody else's. So
Mhm.
yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for mentioning that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I would love that support, to really think through that. Yeah.
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 Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, so those are just some of the pros and cons that I can think of right now of
Yeah.
singleness. Mhm.
This is so good. I
Mhm.
I have I have and again we talk about these dynamics a lot,
Yeah.
throughout Real Women's history of
Mhm.
10 years going on 11 years. We've talked about relationships.
Mhm.
But there's always some nuance to add to the conversation, and where you are right now is maybe not where you were the last time the conversation was had. So you
Mhm.
think about new things. So we really do want you all's take on where you are with this, and we will continue to have these conversations in Real Women Sister Circles. So
Mhm.
before I ask this kind of takeaway conversation piece, this question, I just really want to remind you, if these are the types of conversations that you want to have, we have sister circles.
Mhm.
And our sister circles, not only are we coming up with topics, but we are soliciting topics and we are hearing what's happening in the circle and planning future topics as a result of
Mhm.
what we're hearing in the circle. And it is determined by you being in the circle and contributing. So we would
Mhm.
love for you to join us. We have virtual and in person. So just go to our events page and check us out. And I'm thinking about takeaways from this because it is what it is. Each of our opinions about this, which is better, is what it is. I will, before I ask you this last question, I will just say I do agree with you. I have, to be very honest, depending upon the day, the month, or the year, I am thinking to myself, "Oh, singleness must be over there. It must be beautiful over there at that fence, but across that way over there, I'm looking at that
Uh-huh.
grass, you know."
Uh-huh.
And then there are days that I am so grateful
Mhm.
that I am in covenant relationship, um, and 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 I'm grateful that we are in a season of building each other up and working with each other in a very wonderful, healthy way. And
Yeah.
so with all of that being said, I agree with you that
Mhm.
I just needed to be able to say and be
Mhm.
honest that I have been on, on both sides throughout my 50 years of living, but
Uh-huh.
definitely my 25 years of marriage as well.
Mhm.
But I think about the woman who is not happy with her current status today,
Mm.
whether
Mhm.
she is married or single.
Yeah.
Um, she's not happy today. And
Mhm.
happy is we used that word earlier. It's
Mhm.
it's a relative word, but
Mhm.
I think it's an important one because it's the state of being, right? And so um, maybe you're grateful, but you're not happy.
Mhm.
You're thankful for life itself,
Yeah.
but when you think about
Yeah.
relationally, you are not happy.
Yeah.
And so what do we say? What are our thoughts to women who are not happy with their
Mhm.
status? Maybe they are in covenant relationship, maybe they are, long term type of relationship or married,
Yeah.
and they're not happy in it, or maybe they are single and not
Mhm.
happy. Any
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yes, I do. So the first thought that comes to mind is one, figure out what it is that what you're trying to get filled, right?
Mm.
Because happiness is about emotion,
Whew.
and it's really about trying to feel something. What is it that you need to feel? I
Mhm.
get that your circumstances are not ideal. I understand because, like I said, I've been on both sides. But what I've also learned is when I am my most unhappiness, it's because I'm not fulfilled within myself for a reason. So we've talked about the pros and cons. Happiness can be on both sides. So if you're not happy on one side, jumping to the other side may not resolve that happiness. So
So
before
good.
you do anything, figure out what it is that you're really trying to achieve and accomplish. What is it that you're trying to feel?
Mm.
Because it's probably connected that you need something emotionally that you're not getting. And it's possible. It doesn't have to be this or that. You can have happiness no matter which side you're on.
Mm.
So I just admonish you to start there first.
Mm.
What are you searching for? What is it that you're really looking for before you make any decisions? And then after you have resolved and figured out, like, nah, it's this, okay. Then I invite you to lean into the power of choice because you get to choose what side you want to be on. But understand there are pros and cons on both sides. So recognize what you're trying to do.
Child, if we didn't lay that thing out for you to know that there are pros and cons on both sides
Yeah.
today in this
Hmm.
episode,
Yeah.
I am such a living testimony to exactly what you just said. I don't
Hmm.
know how else to explain it,
Hmm.
but to say my levels and state of unhappiness in my marriage or being single had absolutely nothing to do with my marital status.
Right.
And I can say
Exactly.
that
Hmm.
today emphatically. And
Hmm.
it's something, a trigger, a switch turned on for me during this year
Hmm.
that let me know and Greg says it all the time, but until I took the reins and said, I am responsible
Yes.
for my happiness.
Hmm.
I cannot give that responsibility to anybody else. I have to
Hmm.
do that for myself.
Yeah.
When I take responsibility for that and I clearly articulate what I need and what I want, and I'm responsible for living that out,
Yes.
Because I can do that, but being in relationship with somebody just means I have to talk about that. I have to
Yeah.
communicate that. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that they have to be responsible for it, but they've
Mm-hmm.
got to know what's going on, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it's just a beautiful thing within me to be
Mm-hmm.
able to discover some
Mm-hmm.
some empowerment that
Yes.
I can live out in my world and make life easier for everybody.
Absolutely.
Life,
Happiness is an inside job. I
oh
don't care
my
what nobody
God.
say.
Mm, mm,
You
mm.
can make your own self happy. And you
Yes.
can get out of situations, but start here first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes, yes. And so, of course, we're going to, all of the outliers, just in case anybody needs these disclaimers, if you are being harmed, if you
Yeah.
are, all of the things physically,
Mhm.
sexually, emotionally, if you know that it is a detriment to you,
Mhm.
work on you outside of that or
Outside of it, right.
separate from that,
Yeah.
all of those things. We are not putting all of these things in one big lump category.
Mhm.
These are so situational and individual. That's how we
Mhm.
started
Yeah.
with those disclaimers. And
Safety first. Safety
yes,
first. Yes.
safety first,
Mhm.
safety first. And we get to choose, and we are empowered to make our decisions. So
Yes,
this
absolutely.
is beautiful. I had so
I
much fun
love
with this one.
it. You know I love talking about relationships.
Yes, we did that.
Yeah.
So hopefully share this with somebody who needs to hear it. Again, share your thoughts with us. We really want to know what you thought about this deep dive topic. We stayed here longer than I thought we would, but we had a good time.
Yes, we did.
So speakpipe.com/ real women real talk. Or email us at info@realwomenrock.org.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I think maybe I'll just allude to this rather than trying to do a whole lot with it because
Okay.
it does allow us the opportunity to reference it.
Mhm.
I'm just a little nervous about digging real deep into it.
Mhm.
But our next segment is putting myself in her shoes.
Mhm.
And we've been in our current events bag, our current trends bag lately.
Yeah.
And you all may have seen not too long ago, Kirk Franklin, our good nephew friend, he calls himself Kirk Franklin. He's done a video with he was on Cam Newton's show,
Mhm. Yep.
and he talks about how the church unfairly treats single people and how it you push people to get married.
Mhm.
And once they get married, you don't, as we said earlier, you don't teach them about marriage. And then so you elevate marriage on some level and then vilify divorce when you haven't given the tools to do it. And you're
Mhm.
pushing single people, when you're gonna get married, when you're gonna get married, when you're gonna have kids and all of that.
Mhm.
And it's sinful to be single at a certain point.
Mhm.
But then you get married and then you don't have the tools to know how to do it well.
Yeah.
And then over half of marriages end in divorce, and it's
Mhm.
higher in churches than it is
Mhm.
outside of churches. The percentages are higher.
Mhm.
And so I guess I want to know from you, sister, if and maybe this has happened to you, putting yourself in the woman's shoes
Mhm.
who is being pushed, who has been told you need
Mhm.
to get married,
Yeah.
or when are you going to get married? Has
Mhm.
that happened to you? If even if it hasn't, putting yourself in her shoes, how would you deal with that?
Mhm.
Anything you want to say about Kirk Franklin? Did you agree with him, disagree? But putting yourself in her shoes, have you dealt with it, or how would you deal with it?
Yeah, so I absolutely do agree with him. I know that when I did get married, like right before, what was driving me to get married, it wasn't someone specifically saying directly to me, you need to get married. Why aren't you? But it is how I interpreted and internalized the messages from church. So
Mhm.
I was determined to get married to the point where I thought I heard from God when it was going to happen and really went about trying to make it happen for myself because I was so focused on meeting a goal and I thought that that's what I was supposed to do spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think it cripples us. It crippled me, I believe, because the message was more about getting married than how are you doing individually? Who are you as a person? Have you checked in to see who you are as a person? Have you processed through your traumas? Like none of that was taught. So I thought everything that I had gone through would be worked out spiritually. And then when I got married, everything would be wiped away. So I had a
Mm,
very fantasy type uh thought process when it came to marriage.
yeah.
And not to say it's all on the church's fault because I had, like I said, that's how I internalize and interpret it. But it was a huge part of my reasons for getting married. And I don't feel like I was equipped
Yeah.
for marriage. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would agree with him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Putting myself in the woman's shoes, I have been there.
Mhm,
And at 25, that is one of the reasons why I got married, was
mhm,
because both explicit and implicitly I was encouraged to,
mhm.
and not even by, I think my mother would have wanted me to wait, especially with the short time frame that
Yeah.
we got married. So it's not that she wanted me to get married right then when I did, but the
Mhm.
idea of marriage and
Yeah.
what it means to not be married meant to have sex outside of marriage, and
Yeah.
that was the greater wrong.
Yeah.
So all of those things, pulled together meant I
Mhm.
needed to get married in my mind.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so I
Mhm.
have been pushed into that. And I think at different points, if you were to talk to anybody that's been married more than a minute, myself
Mhm.
included, and my
Mhm.
husband, there have been times you thought, okay, do I really want to be here? Do I really want to
Mhm.
do this? And
Mhm.
when you think about, I'll speak for myself, when I've thought about that, one of the reasons why I haven't push
Mhm.
that button, um, is thinking about how it would be vilified, or how I
Yeah.
how I would be perceived. And so
Mhm.
I can definitely relate to what he said. It is true.
Mhm. Yeah.
It may not be true for everybody, but it
Right.
is true.
Mhm.
And what I'm grateful for, putting myself in her shoes, is
Mhm.
come I have freed myself from that box
Yes,
of,
indeed. Amen. Yes. Mhm.
um, that I'm married because I choose to be married,
Yeah.
and also I am I am not believing that you have to be married or burn in
Yeah.
either way,
Yeah.
whether it's the hell
Listen,
or physically.
child. Mm.
And so I believe that there is fulfillment
Mhm.
in marriage and singleness,
Mhm.
and that that you should be able to fully live life out loud on either side of that marital status. So,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
agree with you, and I am not in a box either. So,
yeah, yeah.
yes, amen. That's all I'll say about that.
We dismantle boxes over here.
Yes,
Oh,
we
so
do.
one of the things I've been anxiously writing out some of the topics that I want us to cover.
Uh-huh.
And so we're gonna go through some dismantling topics,
Oh, I
like
love it. Yeah.
where you were just about to go. I'm gonna go a
Uh-huh.
couple of places.
Let's get it. Yes.
So let's get it. I'm ready,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
because what I think is, there's so many of us who are on the journey
Mhm.
of, in one of my communities that I'm a part of, it's called deconstruction.
Mhm.
Um, but just dismantling the boxes that we
Yeah.
have been, um, that have been imposed upon us. I'll put it
Yes.
that way.
Mhm.
And as a result of me pulling myself out of some of these, oh, it's not gonna rub everybody the right way, but I'm not asking you to rub against this at
Mhm.
all. You don't have to
No,
at
no.
all. So
Mm-mm. Not at all. Uh-uh.
so this was good to me, sister. I
I love
enjoyed
it.
this.
Yes,
Yeah. This
yes.
was this was a little longer for a reason.
It was worth it. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
want to ask for our last segment, our spiritual nugget, with all that we have talked about, or even outside of it. what comes up for you that you would share as a spiritual nugget, something to leave with our audience?
Yeah. Um, your relationship status uh, does not define you.
Woo.
Whether you're married or single, you can be happy on either side. You get to choose. You can water the grass on the side that you're on. You can be your full self. So just know that you're not defined by your relationship. It is a part of you, but it is not you. So see yourself as a whole person and not just as a single person or a married person. There is more to you than your relationship status. And you can be happy on either side.
I'm stuck. I'm stuck at your relationship status does not define you.
Mhm.
If somebody doesn't put that somewhere,
Mhm.
your relationship status does not define you.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Mhm.
no matter what the relationships are,
Mm-mm.
married, single, mother, unmother, you're not a mother, your
Mm.
mother, just childless, child free, like
Mhm.
none of that defines you. So
Mm-mm.
good. So
Mm.
good. That is
Yeah.
not who you are.
Mhm.
It's not all of who you are, and it's not
Mm.
the essence of who you are.
Nope.
Y'all, this has been so good. I thought we were tired, Shavon. This
I
was so
thought so too, right?
good.
This is life giving. Oh my goodness. Thank you,
That
God.
was so
I love
nice.
it.
Thank you, God. We needed this.
Yeah.
Y'all, thank you so much for being with us. Listen, realwomenrock.org is where you go to find out about our sister circles. We would love for you to come visit us virtually or in person. And then November 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, we are bringing all of our sister circles together. And even if you've never attended a sister circle, if you are listening to any of these episodes, you are a part of our circle. We invite you to be a member of the circle at our intensive. It is in Cambridge, Maryland. All of the information you need is at realwomenrock.org/intensive, or just go to our events page when you get there. Join us in Cambridge, Maryland for 2.5 days of this.
Yes.
plus
Yes.
plus
Exactly.
so much more. Go back to a previous episode where we talked all about the intensive, and then look forward to us talking more about it in the near future.
Yes.
Thank you, sister. This was so
Thank
good.
you. I loved it. Yes.
All right, y'all. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye
Bye,
bye.
y'all.